When we picture the American presidency, we usually imagine something like this: flawless, stoic, a collection of marble avatars steering the course of history. But the people who actually sit behind the resolute desk are rarely as polished as their monuments. They are highly flawed, deeply strange human beings. In fact, if you look closely at the historical record, you can find at least one deeply bizarre, documented eccentricity for every single person who has held the office. To make sense of this volume of weirdness, we're skipping the standard timeline. Instead, we are looking at this behavioral taxonomy of executive stress. 45 distinct cells, grouped by the specific ways the pressure of the presidency warped normal human behavior. Stripping away the public relations myths to map out these quirks is the clearest way to see the actual, unfiltered reality of the commander-in-chief. Our first category is the menagerie. We expect 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to be a highly controlled, formal environment, but historically, it frequently doubled as a chaotic zoo. Thomas Jefferson, despite his refined aristocratic image, actively housed 2 grizzly bear cubs right on the White House grounds. William Howard Taft required a reliable, massive milk supply, so he kept a free-roaming dairy cow named Pauline Wayne grazing on the executive lawn. Theodore Roosevelt brought in a small army of pets that included a laughing hyena, a badger, and a one-legged rooster. Calvin Coolidge developed a bond with a pet raccoon named Rebecca. She was originally sent to the White House to be served as Thanksgiving dinner, but Coolidge decided to walk her on a leash instead. And John Quincy Adams reportedly kept an alligator living in an East Room bathtub. These collections show that, even in the nation's most formal residence, the personal urge to surround oneself with a chaotic, private zoo consistently won out over the expectations of executive decorum. But the pressure of the office doesn't always manifest in physical collections. Our second category shifts to the internal, paralyzing phobias and strict superstitions. Benjamin Harrison developed a terror of the newly installed electricity in the executive mansion. He refused to touch a light switch, forcing staff to manage the power or leaving the lights burning all night. Franklin Delano Roosevelt suffered from a severe case of triskaidekaphobia, the fear of the number 13. He refused to travel on the 13th day of any month, and he would never sit down to a dinner with exactly 13 guests. Decades later, Ronald Reagan relied so heavily on the advice of a personal astrologer that the alignment of the stars dictated the exact timing of his flights, press conferences, and even summits. When a single person is handed enough responsibility to alter the course of the world, total control becomes a psychological illusion. Superstitions and irrational fears step in as a way to grasp at certainty in an unpredictable job. The third category tracks the breakdown of basic social norms, specifically severe breaches of standard dietary and bodily etiquette. Lyndon B. Johnson used the absolute lack of executive privacy as an aggressive dominance tactic. He regularly forced his aides and cabinet members to continue their briefings while he used the toilet. Richard Nixon maintained an unsettling daily dietary staple, a bowl of cottage cheese completely smothered in ketchup. And James A. Garfield found comfort in a highly specific 19th century delicacy, a thick bowl of squirrel soup. These habits, from the aggressive to the merely unappetizing, reveal a specific reality of life in the White House. When you're the commander-in-chief, your private eccentricities aren't just tolerated. They become the daily baseline for every staffer and cabinet member in the room. If we look back at this taxonomy grid, we reach our final category, the outliers. The presidents whose quirks defy easy categorization. Andrew Jackson let a 1,400-pound block of cheese rot in the White House foyer. Abraham Lincoln was a licensed bartender and a formidable wrestling champion. Gerald Ford spent his early years working as a cover model for Cosmopolitan. Harry Truman started every single morning with a shot of straight bourbon. John F. Kennedy obsessed over his weight so much he traveled with his own bathroom scale. John Tyler fathered 15 children. Bill Clinton aced a My Little Pony quiz on national radio. Across 45 distinct administrations, there is not a single blank space on this board. Every single president brought their own deeply weird reality to the desk. Compare this chaotic, glowing grid of neuroses and strange habits with the sterile marble monuments we build to honor these same men. The Oval Office is not a forge that turns ordinary people into perfect leaders. It is an unnatural pressure cooker that takes underlying human eccentricities and amplifies them to an extreme degree. Acknowledging these bizarre flaws is an essential democratic exercise. It keeps us from treating politicians like infallible idols, and it anchors the immense power of the presidency exactly where it belongs, in the hands of profoundly ordinary, deeply weird mortals.